Yo, what's up, guys? In this video, we are going to be looking at M80 versus Envy. In particular, we're going to look at one round. It was round two anti-eco split where Envy ecoed M80. We are going to talk about what M80 can do better and what all of you guys can do better on your anti-ecos on split and all sorts of stuff surrounding that. If you guys like this video, let me know. I'm going to make more videos like this in the future as we approach 2027, where I eventually want to start coaching on a tier 1 team. So, yeah, but let's get right into it. So the first thing that I want to point out in this round is their structure and just some small issues. There's no reason to spend all day on a lot of small issues, but number one, I don't love Omen being here. I think that he's exploitable in a double dive comp. I think that you can kill this guy at a high enough rate that it makes this an unjustifiable position to play. It's not the end of the world, but I don't think it's optimal. I would much rather be Neon with the Marshall on B, and then Omen can play ramp, and that's also going to fit the idea that I have to talk about after this. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the Viper util, to me, doesn't reflect the fact that we're against an eco and we're on an anti-eco. I would much prefer to do the deep mid Viper wall. A lot of people hate on this wall. I think they totally missed the mark on what the purpose of this wall is. This wall is going to allow you to actually hold the vents angle and hold the mail angle confidently and not let them through first timing. So that is the purpose of the wall. It's going to keep them away from you, which is what you want. This orb lets them get close to you. Popping this orb is a false sense of security against an eco. They can walk in the orb, they can make a risky play, on the edge of the smoke while you try to spam it or molly it and go through first timing and kill you. It is absolutely not optimal to do this orb on the anti-kill. So the wall and the orb I don't like. The last thing is, if we are going to do a mid setup like this with no intention to hold them in deep mid, I know Nismo spamming, but they don't have any real intention, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to be 1-1 here in mid. It's better to be together. And in a lot of cases, you don't really want to be 1-1 at A either. But it's Neon with a Marshall, so it's a little bit more valid. Now, how can we fix all of these issues? And also, by the way, the reason why I don't like being 1-1 is because, okay, let's say that right now Nismo gets smoked. If Nismo gets smoked, is Viper really gonna try to 50-50 all of mid by himself? That'd be a really dumb thing to do against a Neon, right? Stun, slide, Sheriff kill you, GG. So you're gonna give the gap anyways. Now, in terms of what they could have done better, let's take a look at a theoretical setup that they could do. So the first is going to be this Viper wall. There's multiple different variations, but we're going to do this one. So some sort of wall like this, even put a little bit of a gap in it, like here, really doesn't matter too much. Some sort of wall similar to this in mid, that's going to allow you to play your standard setup holding this and holding this. So let's just fill in those players here. We're going to put Raze here and Viper here. Now we're going to put Neon with the Marshall at B, and in particular, he's actually going to play this off angle here at the start. Well, he can play like right here, actually, and then he'll move on to a better angle in the future. But this is going to be his anti-rush spot. Then over here towards A, we're going to put Omen Ramp and Fade Lower. Now, here's the key thing that I'm playing for. Number one, I don't want the eco to get close to me. So I'm going to use this Viper Wall and this Viper Orb. We'll talk about this Viper Orb later. That's going to, this Viper Orb is, Viper Orb, my God, Viper Wall is going to help, push them away in mid. But what can we do over at A? Well, actually, we're going to smoke them off here, okay? We're going to smoke them off, and we're going to have our tether ready. So Omen isn't going to cross ramp first timing and just die instantly, okay? We're going to wait for the Fade Dog and make sure that things are okay over here, all right? So we'll Fade Dog instantly and make sure things are good. Get off the Fade Dog and tether if I'm getting ran down. But assuming that we get the control, that eventually Omen will angle out and hold this angle. And then Fade will do the same, maybe even rotate. So we're keeping them away from us here. All right, I don't want them to lurk on me. I don't want them to get close. So the Omen Smoke is accomplishing that with this connection here. And in mid, we have better guns, and we're holding them at the deep chokes. And then at B, we have a Marshall. Now there's some nuance here. Let's say that things go bad and we have to break off and play layer 2. So let's say in this theoretical setup, this happens here, where the enemy team dives mid and does absolute madness and be heaven. Well, Nismo can come back. And eventually, in the mid round, by the way, at the start of the round, we're holding the orb, and then Viper goes this way. That's the important part. So yes, Viper might start here to hold the wall, but eventually, after any noise, or if possible, they're making their way here. Let's say that happens. It's the realistic outcome here. He would go to stairs. Nismo would go to rafters. Now, let's say things go silent. They took the heaven. They paused in mid. Now we're worrying about gaps, right? So Omen has to go back. Fade might even go to like here, go all the way back, or maybe just keep A main information. Depends on the round. But he has to worry about, the mid gap here. So what do? Well, this is going to be the second concept, the main concept that I talk about. I'm going to call it dynamic positioning, okay? God help me when it comes to writing something, but dynamic positioning. Now, what the heck does that mean? M80's problems on defense on a lot of maps, they're very static, and they don't have the ability to be dynamic. Now, what I mean by that is this Neon, what he's going to do is he's going to play anti-rush at the start, all right? And then after he gets the confirmation that the enemy team did all of that mid stuff, that's going to activate him. Now, we have one character that's in vicinity that can come activate Neon with a boombot, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So a great team would do all of this anti-eco protocol that we're talking about, but if the worst case scenario happens where they give mid, they have this Viper Orb to delay it, but let's say things go silent, the enemy team is defaulting, we need a plan for information. That plan for information is going to be to prot through being made, right? And we're going to talk about exactly how you can do it. So game sound's not really needed here. But if I'm Neon, I can play whatever my favorite angle is. I'd probably play the left side here so I don't get stuck. I'll play some sort of angle like this, and we're going to be playing anti-rush. I'm waiting for the confirmation that they're not here. And then as soon as I get confirmation that the enemy team did all that mid stuff that we just talked about, then I'm going to start angling out. And I can either do this solo, or I can wait for my team. Let's say I wait for my team, or I do it solo, I don't care. But then eventually I'm doing this. I'm angling out. I wait for my raise. He boombots. I hold. Right, we're clearing. Eventually, we both have the angle. Maybe the boombot clears behind the box if you have a lineup. And then eventually we get into this position, right? Where I have all of B main. My raise is here holding the orb with his phantom. And then now, my Viper can rotate to A and help Omen fill that gap. And we might end up in a setup where Viper's here, Omen could already be ramp or rafters or something, and then Fade is A site. We're in a 3-person A site setup. And there's no way that they're going to default and win this round in these positions, right? Things are going to go your way. Now, granted, they could Omen blind B main and reverse clear you and do some really cool stuff. Unlikely. You're still chilling. You're on Neon, right? If I'm on this angle and then all of a sudden, Omen jump spots me, and I get blinded from mid, it's like, I just get out of the way, bro. I'm chilling. Granted, my Neon skills aren't up to par these days, but you're going to live. And that's the important part here. That's why Neon is so good. In double duelist metas, it is very important for you to understand what dynamic positioning is, because your ability to refight and gain space in the mid round is going to come from your understanding that, hey, I need to put myself in a position to where if things go wrong, I can get information with my teammate. So when we talk about Lev on the Phoenix and Neon, they consistently do this. They rotate together on this map, and then eventually their setups allow them to refight into mid, to refight into ramp, etc. Okay? So the first thing is they don't have that intention to move these players away from them in mid to keep them far away. And the second thing is their positions are extremely static, and there's no real opportunity for them to get a deep line or to get information in the round because of how static their positions are. A little small note here. I want to take a look at a round in Challengers. I was helping a player on this team review, and they end up getting ecoed here. They let the eco get close to them. Things get ugly, and they get ecoed. Okay, we don't need to watch the round. All right, they just get ecoed like they get 1D, taking a bunch of dumb fights. They let the eco get way too close to them, and it didn't work out. Now, here's the same team the next week after. You can see they made the Viper adjustment that I recommended. Now, I was helping a player on this team. This team probably doesn't even know that I was involved in this. But a player on this team came to me and said, okay, listen, you need to do this Viper wall, this Viper orb. So we see that we have the deep Viper wall here, which is going to enable them to stay away here. See, Fade's playing really passive. I mean, that's an option, right? Especially the Vice comp. But yeah, this is going to enable them to hold mid. And the most important thing is they have this Viper orb. Now, why is this Viper Orb so much better than the mid one, you might ask? Well, let's just watch what happens here. So eventually they get off the mid angle, okay? And the enemy team, blah, blah, blah. This happens. This whole, they went up B heaven happens here. But look how easy it is to defend with this orb. Look at this crossfire, right? This activates the Stairs player. Normally, the Stairs player would have to go through a smoke at a timing here, but it is absolutely impossible to exec B through this orb. The site player can see you. The Rafters player can see you. The Stairs player going through the smoke can see you. God forbid, dude, a guy on back site can see you. You cannot go through this orb. This is the sort of setup that you want. They have to overcommit through this orb if they want to prot through it, and it's absolutely a nightmare. So they absolutely shred the other team here. They take them down to 20 seconds. It was hard for the other team to get map control, and this anti-eco just looks 10 times better. So this is literally just an example I wanted to show you in Tier 2 where a team took this advice, and they did well with it. Now, I'm going to show you an example in VCT where a Tier 1 team is utilizing a similar ideology here. So I'm going to mute the VOD, but let's take a look. Look at how NRG structure their defense around here, okay? And I'm not touching on weapon-based win conditions in in this analysis because Split isn't one of those maps where I'm super worried about buying a Marshall or something like this all the time on multiple characters. But when we take a look at NRG, you can see Kiko's looking a little different here, looking like Batman. But Kiko is playing to get these guys away from me, man. I don't want this eco to get close, so I'm playing C-Mound with a Guardian here. I just go for double body shots. I keep these guys away from me. They have a raise comp, bro. I'm not really worried about them. You know, worst case scenario, I tuck behind Mound while I blind and just TP away. And I have this Vice Flash to protect me here, right? If I get rushed first timing, Vice Flash goes off, it protects me long enough to TP away or kill them. So they got to stay away from me. You can see that Mata and Ethan starting a very dynamic A setup here, where you see that Mata nades, and then he holds the angle, Ethan eyes, and they're taking a reactive A control here. If worst case scenario, the other team was fighting out A with some crazy util, they would just be able to back up slant, Scuba would shoot the door, and they'd get out. But this is what a dynamic position looks like. They have the option to take that deep space, or they have that option to back up. They have those ideas implemented into their setup. So you can see NRG is doing a great job of utilizing what I talked about. By the time the eco gets all this space, they're going into a full setup here, and then Mata's on the deep line, and this is what it looks like to be a tier 1 team. Okay. Now, back to reality here. We'll watch this round, but I just wanted to go over all of those key points. I'm sorry if I skipped over something, but there's just so much that I could talk about. It's my bad if I do. I guess one small thing before we start is I want to talk to you guys, generally speaking, about how you can implement this dynamic positioning. First, you need to understand a few things. Number one, you need to understand what an anti-rush protocol is. That is basically what your positioning against the rush on your bomb site is going to be. So if I'm Neon here, I'm playing anti-rush, wherever that spot is for me. It could be right here, whatever. And then after you get the confirmation that the open is somewhere else, that's when you're going to your second step and actually take the info. Okay, if you don't understand this concept, then you're going to start in like your info spot here, you know, and then get Neon stunned, and then you're going to get all messed up, and you're not actually ready to absorb that exec, right? You're in too chaotic of a position. You want to be in a way better spot. So you need to understand that it's off of the enemy's open and information, and you need to understand that you're still playing anti-rush where you're starting. Now, let's watch this round here. So you can see a lot of issues start to come out. Right away, this orb, it lets them get way too close to us. This is uncomfortable. Right now, if I get smoked in mail and then the stun comes in vents, I could just die right now.
Orb up. A lot of damage in the process in Ismo.
And then eventually, we see the separation come and mid becomes a gap. Right, they're one smoke away from mid being a gap here. This was always going to happen. That's why it's useless to start in the setup in the first place. No intention to hold deep, you might as well just give mid as a gap. Let one person hold it and then back up. And in tier 1 VCT, like one person mid and then eventually give it as a gap is a very valid way to play. But let's keep watching here so we don't waste too much time.
M80 actually make a mistake.
And here's where we get into that staticness. I really want you guys to look for it. There is nobody right now who is in a position to get a deep line. The A line's way too sketchy. You're not going to get in front of this Viper wall here on Neon. They could wall up and wall down. It gets to eights. Maybe you play like this off angle, but even then, it's really hard to play that against this wall. Then you also have Omen who cannot push B, and we have players who got pushed off mid. So we've already lost all information here. So Nismo trying to hold on to some level of information. This is just a small micro mistake. There's no planet that Nismo holds this angle here. Holding this angle is just insane. Cousin is going to peek this with perfect crosshair placement, have peeker's advantage, and it's just not a fight you want to play. And you can see that natural separation of players here plays a big factor. You see the Viper and the Raze get separated. That's why their second step after they fight for mid would need to be double mail. Because this solo Raze here is just not optimal. So they end up getting this mid space here. Never hold that angle, guys. I mean, jiggling that angle is already dangerous. Holding that angle is absurd. You might as well, I always tell people this, you might as well just play like 1 foot off the angle, 2 foot off the angle, and just aim to it. And just commit to the fight, if you're going to do it. Not saying you should, but that's how you should aim to it. You should never aim to on the angle like that.
Yeah, straight through the wall.
So we lose mid, we lose A, we lose B. This cannot be how we play an anti-eco. The fact that the anti-eco could pop on any bomb site, any area right now is absurd. We've already theoretically lost this round. But let's take a look at what happens here. So they actually do this smoke, which nobody was there, so they cut off their own information. So once again, they popped this. Remember what I talked about overcommitting through that orb? You want to wait until they've overcommitted into B heaven before you ever do the smoke. All this does is cut off our info even more. I mean, how has M80 allowed them to get info restricted this hard? It comes from that structural positioning, the misunderstanding of what a dynamic position looks like, and what mid-round options for information look like. They don't set themselves up to have it. So this is what it looks like. becomes
Okay,
very
Envy,
awkward.
big traps with that.
And then a micro mistake here. Alvin does the single worst jiggle I've ever
Trying to
seen,
end up towards a
unfortunately,
B
Mr. Alvin.
split here. They don't want to
But
fall
it
into
really is
any
just a micro mistake. He strafes out wide here, and then he doesn't even go behind the wall. He's basically just standing in the open long enough for Kesnet to contact him here. Once again, this is just not how you need to jiggle or hold this angle. The correct way to jiggle or hold this angle here, first off, you can do the flex jiggle, but I don't have that shit. I mean, I don't have Neon Sprint enabled, so it's not like I'm on Neon. But let's say I have a Singular Omen here, right? First off, I can knife out like this, right? I can silent jump spot, show my barrel, right, like this, and then jump spot, for example. You're mixing up the jump spot with the silent jiggle down here, might even like crouch jiggle, jump jiggle. You're making it random which one you're doing. Now, the second thing when you're jiggling is you never jiggle this fast, ever. Because that means you're going to contact them at this point every single time. And the more frequently you jiggle, the more likely they're going to get a timing on you where they're perfectly priming you and kill you, okay? You want to jiggle at a delayed frequency. So like this, for example, if you're here, right, you do that, and then you'd wait, then you'd wait, then you'd wait, etc. Now, I wouldn't do it that exact way. It's just an example of like the different frequency. You wouldn't want to keep doing the first thing I did like this. You don't want to keep doing this because then you're basically guaranteed to get, you know, at least give them one shot to headshot you. So yeah, a micro mistake from Alvin cost them the round here, but yeah, this is just horrible D here. And that's why, once again, we just buy a Marshall here on Neon and it solves this problem. This is too sketchy. We've lost all of the information here because the structure of the setup was bad, and now we're seeing the small micro mistakes come in. So 2 micro mistakes that go really bad here.
traps with that raise nade.
What is that?
An insane shot out.
And we see Nismo try his best to survive here, but once again, this is just so threatening with this double dive. It's what I talked about before. It is a major problem for a B anchor, this first timing wrap. So there's no real way to connect the two players here.
Block immediately. Kesnet is...
And then the B Heaven comes in. Again, we don't have any information. You guys are wondering, oh, why don't we have information? They're walking at mid. Again, their structure didn't allow it. They should already be deep B main right now, or something like this. Their structure's bad.
An insane shot
and
out
they
of Kesnet.
kind of trolled with their micro, right?
Elvin's head on the chopping block immediately. Kesnet is just...
And the round just absolutely crumbles here.
Control over towards Heaven. These players...
And things go terribly wrong. So, just to summarize, guys, we went in. You've got to keep the eco away from you. You've got to play those dynamic positions where there are options for mid-round information gain. You've got to understand your Viper util on this map, when you need to pop the smoke, how you pop the smoke, and how you can structure your rounds to use it properly. And everything else that I talked about. Yeah, you'll see that this setup that I'm making has a lot more thought behind it in terms of keeping the eco away from you. Utilize the Viper util effectively, and have those options to reclear. If you guys are on a team right now and you're playing Phoenix Neon, this is something that you need to consider. If I'm on Phoenix Neon and I'm on any map in the entire game right now, I want, you know, if they take all of mid from me and I have to back up here, I want an option to like refight into A main with like my Phoenix plus Omen or something like this, right? Or, you know, Phoenix Neon, for example. Maybe it was like a double cat setup at the start, and then eventually you had to back up. It's like, if they take all of mid, I want this option. I'm not going to do this every round because it's not the right answer to a mid take. But if things get really awkward, yeah, I want to be able to refight at a timing that I like and get this space back. Especially, for example, with how packed up Envy was playing. So, if you guys are here to talk about the anti-eco stuff, it's over. Thank you guys for coming. But let's take a look at Ascent real quick. Just so you guys can get a better understanding of kind of how static that M80 play in general, which is kind of an issue with their comp a little bit on this map, because it is single duelist. But yeah, let me just show you here. Look how static it is. So we take a look.
Rounds here for M80, but we were sort of trap plays and whatnot.
Hey, he's getting the...
It did 90 players.
And you can see, once again, M80 have absolutely no intention to get information anywhere on the map. No lines anywhere. And it is a B hit here. They slow down, and they end up getting worked like this. Next round, we lock in. I haven't water reviewed this yet, by the way. I've only watched it briefly. But we can see the mid-take comes in, and you can see somehow they've ended in 2 people still towards A. This can't be how you play it, right? We should be walling this. As soon as they committed all this util to mid, we needed to have already walled this and then made our way over here. But instead, we're still in this 2-person setup. We have no intention to be dynamic and move throughout the map. It's a very bunkered setup here.
Already,
And then we don't have that flood here on time. And Caillou makes a terrible micro mistake getting spammed here as well. Bonnie makes a mistake on how he's peeking, trying to spam.
Go.
Listen, yeah, there are micro mistakes that this team makes with their decision making,
MV putting on a ship
but
like M80.
their round structure is just not good. And then also like this stack here, bro, this like mid stack to counter this mid default. I don't think they actually saw the mid default properly, but nobody can play off Nismo here. Like these guys who are back here are never going to be able to peek this mid line. They're just gonna die. They would have to have a plan to smoke this, right? And the Omen blind. You guys remember that trap? Where it's like, okay, if they do their mid default, I'm gonna smoke this and then Omen blind all of mid one, and then we refight it. It's like something like that would have to be your strat. But there's no way they thought. Like, how do they connect here right now? How do these market players ever peek off you? What, they peek into all of mid here? That's insane. That's not even possible.
This time they are fighting much more aggressively.
So you can see, I mean, that's just kind of a bad play. But once again, just super static. Everybody look at A, right? There's nobody on this whole half of the map for Envy, but they have no intention to push. All they do is restrict their own information, and they never... Look, they just walled A main, and there's still 2 people towards A.
Bring up the overdrive.
You can see it just doesn't work. So I'm not going to analyze too much. I understand what the purpose of their comp is, and that it's not as good at being dynamic, but... Yeah, this team definitely needs to improve kind of their intentions with getting information and their anti-ecos and all that sort of stuff. Overall, I think M80 is a really good team and I want them to win. So, yeah, I'm rooting for them. But I just want to make this video and give you guys some nice little higher level educational content that I know some of you guys look for. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, please reply, like, share. It'll do me a huge favor. It really incentivizes me to make more free content like this, you know, instead of doing a coaching program where I talk about stuff like this. You know, if more people enjoy it, then I can just post it for free on Twitter. So thank you guys for coming. Thank you for watching. And yeah, I'll see you guys later.